When it comes to bias built into models, it's not just the people behind the keyboard. The problem is setting and forgetting it. People are focused a lot on the actual people that sit behind the computer and actually produce the model. I think that that's important, right? It is important that you have a diversity of perspectives, a diversity of experience to be able to understand what bias you're baking into your model, what you're seeing and what you're not seeing. But empathy is just a function of humanity. If what we see manifest from our models, the decisions that we've made once they're out into the universe at scale, when things have the potential to go very wrong or go very right. For example, a Facebook, right? Facebook was intended to make the world more connected, right? Allow us to access people in China when we're sitting in the United States. Allow us to share ideas more fluidly, exchange information through a more connected network. At scale, that allowed a lot of really nefarious information to be spread through the network. It allowed people to connect to others for really ugly purposes, to make fun of, intimidate, otherwise exploit people and the data that they provide, right? At that point, it's not just the people that are sitting behind the keyboards coding the algorithms that need to be empathetic. It's that we actually need to be systematically evaluating the outcomes of our actions downstream and asking, are we still acting humanely? Or have we let the machine run too far outside of the boundaries of what we think is the right thing to do? Because it's sort of like setting it and forgetting it and showing up 10 years later and seeing like, oh, is it still working? No, society has changed, right? Our values have changed just in 2021 alone. So, I was listening to an NPR bit the other day on changing attitudes towards gay and lesbian people in the last decade. It's one of the largest transformational shifts in our society, from going from a period of time where gay and lesbian people in my lifetime were killed just for their sexual preferences, to a time where, Accenture is flying the gay flag in the front of the parade, right? Like, huge transformational shift in our cultural understanding, our cultural acceptance, and an integration of somebody who's different into society. That shift, if you built an algorithm, no matter how unbiased you were sitting behind the keyboard in 1989, didn't think about that reality of 2021. And so it's not just the people sitting behind the keyboard that we need to be thoughtful about baking in bias into the model. It's setting models that over time get old and we never fix them. We never go back and say, like, let's question the assumptions we had in 1989. Are those still the decisions we want to make today? And that's a huge problem in insurance, right? The last time that an auto insurance rating model was ever revisited, ever, really significantly, was 1989. I was 3 years old. John Henry was not born. That was the last time an auto insurance underwriting model had ever been revisited. We set an algorithm in 1989 that said, we're going to use your credit score, your home ownership status, your occupation, and your education to get a good assessment of whether or not you're going to be in a car crash or not. John talks about this all the time. Was the data available? There's all sorts of reasons why the people, no matter how good they were sitting behind the keyboard, started to build a model that today, when you take a good hard look at it, and frankly not even that hard of a look at it, is discriminatory, it is biased, it is causing people to get prices that are not fair assessments of their risk. And with the data and the technology that we have today, there's just an opportunity to, again, sit behind our keyboard, go back to square one and say, how would I rebuild this knowing what I know in the last 35 years to be more equitable, more fair, more humane, more relevant to 2021 and the consumer of 2021. So I tend not to want to focus too much about the people behind the keyboard, because I think in general data scientists are quite good people. Just looking at our team alone, they're some of my favorite people on earth. They're weird, they're up at night, they're creative, they're reading Harry Potter, they're building Lego sets, they're doing just like, I don't know, I like to hang out with them. They're good, cool people. They're funny. So I have faith in humanity that the people behind the wheel, at least at Loop, are good people. It's just that we actually, as a company, need to do something different than the companies that came before us, which is consistently monitor, continue to evaluate our decisions, and continue to update the choices that we made so that in 2024, we aren't looking back and being like, oh, I wonder what happened. Because like 2041 is gonna look so different than 2021. And I pray God our models aren't the same from today.